Okay, a very good morning to all. I, Dr. Suraj Goyal from Department of Mathematics, welcome you on the fifth day of ongoing workshop. Our resource person, Mr. Akhilesh Kumar, will continue with his sixth lecture of the series today. This morning session will be chaired by Dr. Arpita Chatterjee, who is presently a co-host. You may post your queries to her, and expert will answer those queries at the end. For any attendance-related issue, you know whom to post. Okay, yes, sir, you can start.
Thank you, sir. Let me share a screen first. Am I audible, sir? And screen is visible?
Yes, your screen is visible. You are clearly audible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, to join this session on deep learning with MATLAB and Yellow version 2 for real-time object detection. So in this session, we'll see that how to create a live mass detector. Okay. So first of all, this is a complete application which I designed using MATLAB. So here you see that I created a .exe file also, and I can share with my colleagues and someone who doesn't have a MATLAB here. So in this application, you see that if someone has IP camera, they can interface with that also. If you have username or password, it will work. If you don't have it, still it will work. Even it will work through web camera as well. So lots of things I used here, like speech to text to speech conversion also. But in this case, I am going to show you just one part, that how to design this application using MATLAB, not how to create a .exe file or how to text to speech, just application using Yellow v2 version. Some other applications, like that earlier for COVID-19 detection, it was taking 2 days for the testing, right? So if you use the X-ray images, then very quickly you will get the result. The complete process of X-ray images only, it requires only 15 minutes only. So in this app, you can see here, let me run this app. So again, I created, this is one more application which I created using MATLAB, that how you can detect the COVID-19 based on the X-ray images. So you see that original image, that is the original image, and this is the detection one. Here you can see that it shows that is a COVID-19. Just you have to give the images as an input, and it will detect that if it is a COVID or it is normal X-ray images. Just wait a minute, let me close it. Okay, some other applications. There are huge applications in signal processing using deep learning, like based on the ECG signals. If you have to detect that heartbeat is normal or abnormal, if it is abnormal, then what kind of disease are available there, right? So you can use deep learning with wavelet also. You can at receiver end, if you have to identify that what kind of modulations are done, so you can use deep learning in such kind of communications applications also, to identify that it is a FSK modulation, or if it is a PSK modulation, or some other kind of analog or digital kind of modulations. If I'm talking about audio processing, again, there are huge applications, like based on the audio data, if I have to detect that what is the emotion of the person is happy or he is sad, or so in this in such kind of applications, it is not easy to design a mathematical equation. You can use deep learning sequential feature selection for audio features, or if you have to detect the spoken digit from images, or if you have audio data, then what the words are there. This kind of applications are very important. If I'm talking about state by state, then you will see that accents are different from different states, if people are from different states. So sometimes it's not possible to understand. But if you have such kind of applications, then you can identify that the person who is in front of you, then what he wants to say, right? Image processing using deep learning, so huge millions of applications you can design using deep learning in image processing also. For example, let's say if you have geographical images, and if you want to detect that what is available in the image, like where is the green area detection, and land area detection, where are the buildings, this kind of applications you can design using semantic segmentation and deep learning. Also, if you are working on multi-resolution images, so you can classify that kind of images also using deep learning. Some other applications in computer vision, if you have LiDAR point clouds, you can use deep learning to classify based on the point clouds data. Apart from that, if you have to do some kind of real-time tracking, real-time detection, object detection, so you can develop this kind of applications also using deep learning. Okay, this is a case study of University of Texas. Let me explain that about Texas first. University of Texas has a total undergraduate enrollment of around 40,000 students, with gender distribution of 46% as a male and 54% as a female student. Globally, it is ranked 71 by QS ranking method, and 41 by ARW. So it is a top 100 university of the world. Their researchers converted brain signals to words and phrases using the wavelet and deep learning. Means if you are aware about what is a EEG signal and MEG signals, they use that signals and they decoded that signals from the brain wave to words. Okay, this was the challenges of which they were facing here, that create a speech-driven brain computer interface to enable ALS patients to communicate by imagining the act of the speaking specific phrases. So first, to understand this case study, you have to know actually what is a ALS disease. You know that we have billions of neurons in our brains, right? So there is a one neuron that is called motor neurons. When they start dying, then communication between brain and your spine will be stopped. So once it is stopped, you can't use your body for anything. Means your body will stop working. Later, you will be not able to speak. You will be not able to move your hands. So if you have such kind of patients, then how you can communicate with them, right? They will be not able to write something. They will be not able to speak something, right? So this kind of so you know that when we think something, then some kind of waves are generated from our brain. So if you think or if you speak, then some kind of waves are generated. That waves are called MEG or EEG signal. So MEG is the advance of EEG actually. So here spatial diversity is more if you compare in MEG with respect to EEG. So if you watch that movie Matrix, the concept is the same, that their robots were machines were using the human brain energy. That's why they created a virtual world there, right? So the solution which they found out, that use the wavelet scalograms of MEG signals to train the deep network. Further, the results classification accuracy, they achieved 96%, and wavelet and deep learning networks quickly combined. So they combined the wavelet and deep learning also. They accelerated their deep learning model by a factor of 10 using MATLAB. Dr. Jun Wang, he was the head of that project. He told that MATLAB is an industry standard tool and one that you can trust. Of course, it is true. It is easier to learn than other languages, and its toolboxes help you to get started in a new area, because you don't have to start from the scratch, right? If you are a beginner and if you don't know anything about MATLAB, you don't have to start from the scratch. You can start from the any toolboxes which are available in MATLAB, because for each and every function there are proper documentation, proper helps are available, right? So what the process they followed actually, what the approach they followed here? First of all, they use the wavelet analysis and they denoise the MEG signal. After denoising, they extracted the features, and you know that very common features they extracted, like mean value, standard deviation, RMS value, amplitude, in frequency domain, what is the peak frequency, what is the power. This kind of common features they extracted, and they got the accuracy 80 above 80% using machine learning and shallow neural network. Okay, they were not happy with that further, and they used the wavelet scalograms of MEG signals. They converted their time series data as a scalograms, and they use pre-trained model like AlexNet, RaceNet, and this Epson RaceNet. So they tried on this three pre-trained deep learning model. They used to decode the MEG signals, and further, what was the outcome? They got the 96% accuracy, and using SVM and ANN, the accuracy was about 80%. So they wanted to enhance this accuracy, and they used the deep learning, and they got the finally 96% accuracy. So this is the graphical way you can see that how they followed this process. First of all, they log that data, that brainwave, and further they converted a scalogram. That data, that scalogram data, they provided to deep learning, and deep learning decoded that. Let's say someone, some words say good day, though it means goodbye, right? So this kind of model they created in that University of Texas in Austin. Okay, this is for agenda for today. We are going to see what is deep learning. In previous session also you have questions that why we say deep, not machine learning, right? Feature available for the deep learning: app to create a deep learning model without writing a single code. So if you are a beginner and if you don't know how to create deep learning models, then you can use apps also, and you can design a complete deep learning model. Understanding of deep learning layers and network designing. So how actually deep learning layers works, we will see in this session. Marks detection using CNN model. From scratch, we are going to see how we can create a mask detection application using deep learning. Further, how to improve that CNN model, because the images which I am going to use, that is from Google. So how you can create that kind of deep learning model for your web camera or IP camera, means how you are going to improve that. So in this case, I am going to use you only look once version 2 for real-time object detection. So what is deep learning? Deep learning is a type of machine learning in which a model learns to perform classification tasks directly from images, text, or sound, or it can be a time series data as well. Deep learning is usually implemented using a neural networks architecture. So deep learning is also a kind of machine learning, but why we say deep? So the term deep refers to the number of layers in the network. The more the layers, the deeper the networks. In traditional neural network, if I'm using the word traditional, it means shallow neural network. It contains only 2 or 3 layers only, while deep networks can have tens and hundreds of layers. So you see in this one, just 1 minute. This figure which you see, that is a shallow neural network. Here you see 2 hidden layers are only there, and the circles which you see, that are neurons. They are connected with each other. Whatever input will come to these neurons, and output will be of these neurons will be an input for the next layer. And here a mathematical equation will be generated, something like that: y is equal to wx plus b. So w is the weight and b is the biasing. So during training, there is a back propagation to optimize the weights, to optimize the bias in this case. So when you increase this number of hidden layers, it will be automatically converted as a deep learning. And deep learning is also named as a deep learning because it extracts the deep features. Later you will see that how it extracts the deep features as well. How it works. So you see that in this figure, there are repeated layers, right? Convolutional layer, rectified linear unit, pooling, and then again this layers are repeated. So we'll discuss later that how this, what is the use of these layers and what is the work of and what is the math behind all these layers. So you see that it starts extracting the feature in a simple way, like light and dark means brightness of that images. Further, it start extracting the simple shapes in the next layer. Then in the next layer, it extract the complex shapes. Then in next layer, it will extract the some kind of objects which will be responsible to detect that, okay, in this classes there is a flower, there is a cup, there is a car, or there is a tree, right? So we'll discuss about this layers in the next slides. This is the workflow of deep learning. So first of all, we require to create a image data store. Then we split our data for the training and testing, because only creating a model is not important. If you want to use your applications in real time world, then you require to do a testing of your data also, model. Then further we design the layers. After designing the layers, we provide the parameters that what solver I am going to use, what kind of initial learning rate will be there. So there are some options, I mean, which you can provide before training. Okay, after providing the parameters options, we train that model. After training, we test the model, and further we deploy the model. So for deploying, lots of hardwares are supported. We will discuss again later that what kind of hardwares, if you want to access, then how you can deploy in that hardware. Okay, these are some features of deep learning in MATLAB. You can create the model, you can modify the model, you can analyze the deep learning architectures using apps and visualization tools. So in MATLAB, some apps are available to create a complete deep learning model, to visualize your architecture, that how it looks like. So for that, you can use inbuilt apps which are available in MATLAB. Further, you can pre-process the data and automate the ground truth labeling of images, videos, and audio data using apps. So like if you have to work on the, if you're working for real-time detection, we require a ground truth data. Ground truth data are that kind of data which we require during the training. Okay, so so for the real-time detection, we require to label the data that, let's say I am working for automated driving system. So I have to label that, okay, this is the bicyclist, these are the pedestrian, or these are vehicles, right? So based on that, your automated vehicle will increase the speed or decreases the speed, depends that what is the distance between the other vehicles in front of that car, right? So for that, we have labeler apps available in MATLAB, like image labeler to label the images, video labeler, audio data labelers. Also signal, if you have time series data, then signal labeler is also available. So you don't have to do this kind of labeling manually in MATLAB. You can use this kind of apps to label your data. Further, you know that we work on huge amount of data. If you are working on deep learning, we require a huge amount of data. So in that case, your system can be slow. So in that case, you can use parallel computing in MATLAB, and you can accelerate your algorithms on NVIDIA GPUs as well. Not only this, if you have some models from other platforms like TensorFlow, PyTorch, or MXNet, you can access that kind of models in MATLAB. You can modify that model for your data, and you can use that kind of world-class pre-trained models in MATLAB as well. You can simulate and train the dynamic systems, like if you are going to work for reinforcement learning. Of course, without deep learning, you can't imagine reinforcement learning. Like if you have to design some kind of self walking robot, so or line follower kind of robot. So you can use deep learning in reinforcement learning as well. And further, let's say if you don't have data, you can generate your data in MATLAB and Simulink. So Simulink is a way where you can design any kind of systems virtually in Simulink, and you can generate data, and you can use that data to create a deep learning models in that case. Okay, once your model is designed, you can generate a GPU code, you can generate a MATLAB code. GPU coder is used to deploy on NVIDIA, and if you have processors like Intel or ARM kind of processors, you can use MATLAB coder to deploy your model in such kind of hardwares. These platforms which you see, if you have any kind of models from these platforms like TensorFlow, CoreML or MXNet, or either if you have from Keras, or if you have your deep learning model from Caffe, there is a importer tools in MATLAB available. You can use that importer tool for the open neural network or for such kind of, if you have models already pre-trained model, you can import in MATLAB, you can customize and you can use for your data as well. This is the app which I was talking about. In this app, you don't require to write the code. You can use these apps, you can design the layers like this, and further you can import data in this app and you can train a complete deep learning models. So first of all, let me show you the demo on this this app, that how you can use this app to create a deep learning model. So I am going to use a MATLAB online. So you can check it if you're in your institute. If you have a campus-wide license, then you can access MATLAB online also, because sometimes it happens that your machine is not with high configuration, your machine doesn't have high configurations, then you can use MATLAB online also. So this demo I'm going to show you on MATLAB online. This is a pretty much similar of desktop MATLAB if you see. It's the same as it is, right? Okay, first.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello. Sir, this is Dr. Arpita. So there are some doubts from the participants. So would you like to take them in between or?
Sure, I can take, ma'am, no issue. Yeah.
Okay. So someone is asking that which type of educational background is needed for this machine learning professional? For becoming for machine learning.
Background.
And which type of background is needed?
See, you have to be a data science actually. You have to know that how to access data, how to do some kind of pre-processing and data. But if you're using MATLAB, I can say that you don't require any kind of background. You can start working on data analysis and data analytics for machine learning, either if you are using deep learning. So because deep learning and machine learning, this kind of applications are used in any department. So you don't have to be a data science, but still, if someone is a data scientist, then it will be easier for them. But still, you can use deep and machine learning, no issue for that, because this is a kind of brown box or black box. You can say you don't require to know that how the process is going on behind that. So already. Pre-trained models are available, layers are available. Just use only you have to know how to sequence that layer. Means what will be a sequence of that layer. That's all. Not any kind of background you require for that.
Okay, and sir, he wants to know about, is there any course for that? And he wants to know about some reference book for machine learning.
Okay. I will suggest there are free courses available on MathWorks website. That is, I discussed, I think, in first lecture, and I will let you know that what that links are there. So you can search on Google MATLAB on ramp, and you will get that courses free, and that courses are free. Every courses are about 2 to 3 hours. I will suggest that you start from there. You don't require any books. Just complete that, and you will get a certificate also. When you complete that course, and you will be able to work on the deep learning if you completed that one. If you completed machine learning, then you will be able to work. About documentation, see, whatever books are there exist in the market, they will not write that books, I mean, about the MATLAB. What is given in the MATLAB, that will be within in that MATLAB. And second thing about theoretical part, okay, in MATLAB for each and every functions, algorithms are also given. What kind of mathematical equations they are using, that is also given. But still you want some books You can go in academia. When you open the mathworks.in, in academia, there are some books for researchers, for faculties, and for students also. So you can download that ebooks from there that are free available. Some are not free, but if you want to purchase, I will suggest that if you want to work with MATLAB, then go and download the books from MathWorks website itself, right? So I don't think that you require a book if you are working on MATLAB. If you're not working in MATLAB, then I will see that what kind of books I can prefer you, right? Okay, ma'am.
Okay, sir, the next question is, you were talking about wavelet. So someone wants to know what is wavelet.
Okay, good question.
Hmm.
Data comes from different sources, like it can be from communication, it can be from some kind of sensors, the sensors which you use to monitor your health from there also. So when that data comes, some kind of noise are introduced. So we design a filter to remove the noise. So there are two ways you can remove the noise. You can use signal processing, you can design the filter, you can remove the noise. There is a other way to remove the noise, that is wavelet. So wavelet is used to compression of image, discrete wavelet I am talking. It is used to compress the image. Continuous wavelet is used to get the scaleogram of that. Scaleogram means that with respect to time, what kind of noise are introduced. If you want to see, you can go for the scaleogram, or you can do a wavelet transform to remove the noise from the time series data. Okay.
Okay, sir. I think he got his answer. So, next question is, will you discuss about the generation of data sets for object detection?
Generation of data set.
Data set for object
Okay.
detection. Huh.
I am not going to design a Simulink model, but I will show you how you can generate the data. First thing. Second thing, it depends that what kind of objects are you going to detect. It depends on that. Let's say that I want to detect the fault. So I require some kind of models like from electrical system. If I'm using, then I will provide some kind of faults there, and for the different classes, different kind of faults I will provide, and I will generate the data set I will use for the classification. For object detection, if now you told me that object detection. Okay, if I'm detecting the object, my input will be images, right? So how you are going to generate images? You require, of course, a camera. In MATLAB, web cameras are supported. You can capture images from that web camera, whatever object you want to detect. So you require that kind of images, right? So you can use web camera. If you have to do object detection, then of course you require images from that, no? Because we detect the object from images, right?
Okay, sir. The next question is, how the deep neural network is different from machine learning and deep learning. Deep neural network is different from.
Okay. I explained. Let me explain here. If I have that PPT, just wait a minute. Is it visible? This page is visible, right?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay. You see here in machine. Let's say I have to, first of all, let's say what model I am going to design. I have to detect the different kind of vehicles. So this first figure which you see, that is a machine learning. First, here you see that if I have to train the images which are based on the vehicles, we require to extract the feature. Let's say that I want to detect the car, then what will be a unique features for that car? We have to extract that features manually, and we have to provide that features to the machine learning algorithm, and machine learning will create a model for that. Same in deep learning, you see that we don't have to extract the features of that vehicles manually. This CNN will do for you automatically. This is the first difference. Second difference is that machine learning is based on statistical kind of mathematical equations, but in deep learning is based on the neurons. Or you may say artificial intelligence, or you can also say neural network. So neural, that is a different way. The task is the same for the machine and deep learning, but the way is different. Here we use the artificial neural network, and in the case of machine learning, we use some kind of statistical analysis. That is the difference actually there.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, at this moment there are no questions, so you can proceed now.
Okay.
And, thank you, sir.
Okay. First, so I'm going to design a simple deep learning model using the app. So you see that here I have this kind of subfolders available. So your first step is create a main folder, and in main folder you have to create a subfolder, and the subfolder's name will be classes. Means what classes do you want to detect from your deep learning model? Like you see here, MathWorks caps, cubes, playing cards. So in every subfolders you have to save the images which is corresponding to that classes. Okay, so first create the main folder and then subfolder name will be the classes names, and in every subfolder you are going to save the images which relate that classes. Okay, so in this way you don't have to read all images at a time in MATLAB. So because let's say if you have thousands of images, when you read all images at a time, it takes long time actually, and maybe your system can be hanged also if memory is full. So better do like this, and we can create an image data store for that. Okay, second thing, I have to use the app for that. So from here I am going to use Deep Network Designer. Okay, just I am showing you a demo first of all. Later I will explain that how layers works. Okay, so how you can use this app to create your deep learning models. Okay, as you saw in the video which I showed you just before, here, okay, this one, right? So you can create your layers by if you click the blank model. So I am going to use the pre-trained model, means the models which are already trained, that are their parameters are already optimized. I am going to use the pre-trained model for my data. So I'm going to open this SqueezeNet. So in SqueezeNet, millions of images are trained with 1000 classes. So what it is doing, it is translating that SqueezeNet in the MATLAB format. So you see, let me zoom this so it can be visible. Perfect. So you see that lots of layers are available here, right? There total number of 68 layers are there. So depends on you that how many layers do you want to do. Right. So how to modify these layers, because it can be it will be possible that the images which you are using, it will have a different image size. The images which are trained in this model, that will have a different size. You can modify this input layer according that. So I am the images which I am going to use, that are the same size the images which were trained in this deep learning model. So how to modify, if you want to modify some layers, how you can modify these layers? Let's say that I am going to modify this convolutional layer. So I'm going to remove this, and I am going to add from here. You see that from left side, you can drag that layer like this. Okay, I'm going to connect here. Later we will discuss about layers also, so you did not to worry about that. Okay, the properties from here you can provide it. What will be a filter size? Let's say that filter size is 1 rows and 1 columns, and how many number of filters. So in this case 5 classes are there, so I'm providing the 5 number of filters. You can modify some properties also like this, like I modified. Okay, after modification, I want to analyze that I have any error or not in this layer. Okay, one thing more here we can do, we can just remove this last layer. Why? That this layer is already trained for the data which were used in this model. So I'm going to use my classification layer in this case. Okay. And you see that I got one error as well because of I didn't modify that last layer. So let me analyze this again. Here you can see here right side that it shows that I got one error. Let me minimize this and close this one, this analyzation. and open this again. Okay, I'm going to analyze again, and I am going to check if there are errors or not. So when you click on analyze network, you can check that if there are any errors or not in your layers. So right now you see that 68 layers are there, 0 warning and 0 errors. So perfect. Till now, no news means no news is a good news, right? So here we got the perfect layers without any errors. Now the next step is that we have to import the data. So we have a import tool in this app to import that folder. I mean this merchant data which we had here as the images. So from here I can go and import data. So this is still opening. Here, so you see that I'm going to browse that folder. So this is in MATLAB Drive, and the main folder name is that is merchant data. I select it, and further these images are just taken from camera, and no some kind of no noise is added there. There is no rotation. So if you want to create a robust model, it's good that randomly rotate that images also. Like I am rotating minus 90 to 90 in this case. Some kind of rescaling also you can provide. Let's say I'm providing the random rescaling 1 to 2. Like if you have to do a translation of pixels, what is the minimum maximum value? This is a horizontal translation, wider. So these are the pre-processing in this app to create a robust model. So because the images which are captured, okay, that is fine, that are straight images. What if my cap is in a different direction, or it is rotated with 90 degrees? So it will not detect properly, right? So that's why we do this kind of pre-processing to get the robust model in that case. And you see here that this is 30% from that data will be used for the testing, and 70% will be used for the training. Import this data by giving this command. Done. Importing is done here, and you can visualize the histogram of that data which we have here. Okay. Next is that training part. In training part, you can provide some options. We will discuss about that options later. It is still opening. And here you can provide that what will be a initial learning rate. These are the some properties of your model. What kind of solver you are going to use. SGDM is a stochastic gradient descent method. Okay. And further, what will be your validation frequency? Let's say it will be 5. Means during training, after what time interval it will be validated as well. Just wait a minute. Okay. And further, how many number of epochs means how many full cycles it will learn, and minimum batch size at a time, how many images I want to train. So there are some other properties also which you can provide. I'm going to close this, and I will just click here train. So my training will start. So let me click here again. Okay, just wait a minute. So it will take a little time because there are more than 100 images in my case. So first of all, it will copy that layers which I defined, then it will start training. Okay, I think the data set which I used there was BSMAS something. Let me import that data again. No, not a MATLAB drive. That's why it was a mistake. I have to use this merchant one, right? This one I have to use. That's why we are getting the error. Let me import this again. Okay, now perfect. By mistake, we selected the other folders. Now you see that MathWorks caps, how many number of samples are available for cubes and all these things. Okay, when you are happy with that, just go in the training and train it again. Already we provided that what properties will be folded. Parameters values already we modified that. So in this case, you don't have to write a code for that. Okay, while it is training, let me switch to PPT. So the example which I'm going to show you, this is the samples which I downloaded from Google, this some images. So you see that images are with marks and without marks, right? So for marks, I have 104 samples, and for unmarks, I have 104 images as well. So while like in machine learning, in deep learning also, you have to provide the same number of samples for every classes. The process, the steps which I am going to follow, these are the steps which I am going to follow, and I will we will discuss these steps during when I show you the code. Okay, so like downloading the images, splitting the images, creating the image data store, and further splitting the data for the training and testing, some kind of pre-processing. Then what will be your training options, how to define the network layers, augmentations, resizing the images, training the images, and testing the images. Let's see that training is done or not. Okay, this you see that this is accuracy which is showing you very low because I didn't modify some other parameters, and this is the losses. The losses have to be 0 and accuracy has to be around 100%. So when you go in the training option, you can modify this initial learning rate. When you decrease the initial learning rate, your training will increase. I mean, your accuracy will be increased in that case. So I'm not going to train it again. So this is the way that how you can train your model. And further, here is the option. If I click here, export, you can generate the code. Whatever we did during this application, we can generate a code as well for that. So it is generating the live script file for you. You see that here code is generated. Let me minimize this. And you see this is the code generated in live script. Step by step, all process which we followed, and the layers are also generated and everything. You can use this course for the automation purpose. Fine. Okay, let's switch to on PPT. So this process we are going to follow, and there are different kind of layers available, like input layer, convolutional layer, normalization layer, linear rectified, pooling layer, fully connected layer, softmax layer, classification layer. We are going to discuss that how this layers works. In input layer, we provide the input size of the images. In convolutional layer is a by filter layer where we provide the filter size and number of filters available there. How convolution work? Like this. Let's say that filter size is 3 into 3, and these are the kernel of that convolution, that is 101, 010, 1101. So it will be multiplied and the sum will be added here. So in this case, there is only one filter and filter size is 3 into 3. So you can create a multiple number of filters to extract the different kind of features. That's how it works. Let me show you how convolution works. Let's say I'm going to read one image here. This one, okay. If I give a whose IM command, this is the size of the image. So if I'm working on image processing, we say that we have 3 intensity matrix, one for red, then green, and another for blue. But if I'm talking about deep learning, these are called channels. So in this case, we have 3 channels here. So first of all, how to convolute this image. There is an inbuilt function in MATLAB. It is a 2D convolution because this is the image I am going to use. And I am not going to convolute this all 3 channels. First channel, which is a red, which I am going to convolute. Now you have to define the kernel function. Let's say that I have to take the complement of the image. The kernel functions will be this: 0, 0, 0, semicolon, 0, minus 1, 0, semicolon, then 0, 0, 0. What it will do? It will it will convert that image as a complement. It will take the complement of that image. Okay. Okay. Now you see that convolution is done. If I want to see this image, IM show, and this IM show. Okay. Here you see that original image was in unsigned integer rate. So now after convolution, it is converted into a double precision floating type. So if I do IM show directly of this convoluted image, I can't see that image actually. So we have to convert again in the gray form by giving the command mat to gray of this convoluted image. So you see that this will be a complement of that image. See, this is the first feature. So like this, we define the different kind of features. Let's say if you have to detect the image from the image, this kernel will be 0, 1, 0, 0, minus 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. So that it will detect the A's in that image. And the original, how it was, let me plot in display in a different figure. I am sure, and this image. Original, the first channel which I am going to take. All rows, all columns, and the first channel, means first matrix. So this is the original image. After convolution, it is converted like this. Like this, CNN works. Okay. Here, not this one. Okay. This is the convolutional, how it works. Normalization, if you want to normalize the output of convolutional layer, you can use normalization layer. If you don't want to normalize, you may not normalize. If you normalize your features, then your speed will be enhanced. Linear rectified unit. So as we know that what is the work of rectifier? Whatever negative data are coming, the linear rectifier will remove that negative data, negative values from your signal. So same way linear rectified works here. It works like this. See here, whatever negative features are extracted after convolution, data removed, data replaced by 0, right? See, minus 110 and is replaced by 0. Pooling layer is a downsampling of the features. Like you see that right now the total number of features are 12 in this case, right? 4 into 4, that is 12. Sorry, 16 features are available. But I don't want all that 16 features to the next layer. So what we can do a downsampling of that. So here you see that the filter size of this pooling layer is 2 into 2. So in this case, first of all, it will be applied here. And if I am using max pooling layer, it will take the max value and it will be assigned here like this 6. Then stride is 2. So it will jump directly here, and whatever max value is there, it will be assigned. So you see that this is the math. That is very simple deep learning if you want to create your model. This was horizontally, then further it will jump vertically here. So what is the max here? 3, and you see that 3 is assigned here, right? So I am doing the downsampling of that. Fully connected layer. The use of fully connected layer is here, that to connect all the neurons and multiply with the weight and add the bias in that case. Okay. From fully connected layer, whatever output we are getting, Softmax layer extract the frequency. So it will extract the probability based on the output of the fully connected layer. You see the total math is going on behind that, right? So whatever output we are getting from here, Softmax layer will convert that output as a probability. Based on the probability, classification layer will classify that what is available in that image. That's all which we are talking about. Okay, I am switching here in MATLAB, and let me show you the code which I have written in that case. That's the code. Okay, my first step is to create an image data store. To create an image data store, there is an inbuilt function in MATLAB that is called image data store. This is the main folder where I have saved that images. If I switch here in MATLAB, you see that I created a subfolder, and in subfolder I have, in subfolder names are by the class name as a marks and unmarks. So in this marks subfolder, I have images which are marks. And in this folder, I have images which are unmarked. Fine. So, and the main folder name is, that is COVID-19 marks. So I executed that this first one, and you see that automatically it read the path of all images which we had here in that main folder. Let me clear that and again run it again. You see that here what I'm doing, this is the folder name where I have all the images. Include subfolder true means it will read the images of subfolders also. And I want to do a automatic labeling of that. The label source will be a folder name in this case. When I run this, we will get this output here in the right side. So it will read the images, all the images. It will read the path of all the images, plus automatically it will be labeled. So in label, it is labeled. You see marks, 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 and whatever unmarks are there that are also labeled here. So manually, we don't have to label here. Now count each label. It will tell me that it will tell you that how many samples are available in every mask. So you see here the output, it is still executing and it is counting that in every classes, how many samples are available there. So that is very important to check that how many samples are available in every class. So 104 for the marks and 104 for the unmarks, right? Further, I am using here random permutation, and whatever images I have from that, randomly 9 images I am going to visualize. So that's a random perm. You can randomize the index, and from all the images, I am going to take only 9 images. And using the subplot, I am going to plot. You can use subplot to create sub figures here like this. So these are the some images randomly 9 which I am visualizing from my image data store which I created. Further, we are splitting. So you see that we don't have to write a big functions for that. I am using split each label to split our data for the training and testing. So in this case, 0.8 value is here, is 80% will be used for the training and remaining 20% will be used for the testing. And now you see we have two data store, one for training and another for testing, right? Okay, further, how many number of classes are there? 2 classes are there. And I'm going to apply a pre-processing function here. So you see that IMDS_train, this is the my image data store dot read function. What read function I'm going to use? This function. This is a function handle. How to create a function handle? That's very easy. Let's say I am going to create one function in a single line using function handle. So I will use @rate command, and then in this bracket, what kind of inputs I have. That is X and Y, and here you can write the equation. For square root, we use sqrt in MATLAB and X plus Y. A function handle will be created. Now if we provide 2 values here, let's say 4 and 5, it will be executed. Of course, 4 plus 5 is 9, and the square root is 3 in this case. So you can use this function handle to call other functions. So here I created this local function below. Why I created this local function below here? What is the work of this local function? Let's say that any image is not a color image. Let's say there are no 3 matrix, only single matrix. So while training, we will get an error. So that's why if it is, here you see if is matrix. If it is matrix, means it is a single matrix only. In that case, I am concatenating using cat command 3, and this 3 will be concatenated together. Means what I am doing basically, if I have a single matrix, I am converting in a 3 matrix as a red, green and blue, because if I have gray images or if I have binary images, I will get the error. That's why. So this function will be applied during training. So that's why I am applying this function for the training also, for the testing as well. Now the options. So let's see that what this options means. First of all, what kind of solver I am going to use? That is a stochastic gradient method, gradient descent method. Maximum epochs 50. So for 50 times my model will learn. 1 epoch means 1 full cycle. So for 50 full cycles my model will learn. So during 50 times weight will be updated and bias will be updated. When the error will stop reducing, this model will also stop. Minimum batch size, that is 20. So this is very important. If your machine is not have a high configuration, if your machine has not a high configuration, in that case you can decrease or increase the batch size. So better decrease if it is not high configuration. So minimum batch size 20, it means at a time 20 images will go for the training. Initial learning rate is very important. If your initial learning rate is very low, then there will be a reason of overfitting. If initial learning is high, then there will be underfitting. So we have to manage this kind of initial learning. So here I am providing 1 into 10 to the power minus 4 means 0.00001. Verbose true, it means that I don't want to display iterations. but I want to see the plots. So I use plot training progress in this case. So you know, if you want to know what kind of more options you can give, just select this option and go here, and you can get that what more options you can provide here. Sorry, not this one. This is a source code of that. Just go in help and you can check from here. So this is documentation is very important when you are designing any kind of model. Time to time you check that what more options you can do. Whatever functions you are using, first go in the document of that and check that what kind of functions are available there and what kind of properties you can more provide there, right? Okay, next step is to design the layers. So you see that image input layer. What is the input image size which I am going to use? That is 255 into 3. So all images have to be same size. Further, convolutional 2D layer. So here you see three filter size is 3 into 3. Total number of filters 8. Padding same. So we are not going to add 0 here. Let me show you here. We are not going to add the pad there actually. Okay, I think clear that padding is basically if you provide the padding 1 as a default, padding is 1. So 0 will be added in your images in the last column and last row, above, horizontally and vertically. So by applying the padding, your filter will be applied on every value, every pixel intensity value in that matrix. Okay. Bash normalization layer to normalize, we discussed that what is the purpose of this layers. And further you see that I repeated all these layers with different filter size. You see that before it was 8 filters, now it is 16 to extract the deep features from them. Okay. So it is still executing. And if you want to visualize these layers, analyze these layers if there are any error or not. Oh no. Analyze network and the layers. What was the layer name? That is small. Okay, fine. If you give this command, you can analyze that if there is any error or not. It will check. So you see that here, 24 layers I defined and no warnings, no errors. So far so good, no issue. Okay, after defining the layers, you can apply some kind of image data augmenter, means like random rotation, random reflection, in y-axis reflection, some kind of sharing in the x-axis and y-axis. So this kind of properties, how will you know? Just select this, go in the help, and we'll get all this. To get the robust model, we require this kind of pre-processing on our images. Okay, this is a pre-processing functions. And now using augmented image data store, we are going to create a new data store. What will be an image size? So during training, whatever the image size I have, which I downloaded, it will be transformed to 255 into 255. Okay, we are creating a new augmented image data store. This was the original image data store which we created. And data augmentation means what pre-processing functions I am going to apply, I defined it here. Okay. To train the network, sorry, something is missed here. Let me run this. I think I forgot to run this one. That's why I am getting there. Okay, perfect. No issue. If you want to train it, just give the command train network. This is my image data store after applying pre-processings, and these are the layers which we defined above. And this is the option files that what will be initial learning rate, what kind of solvers we are going to use. We assigned everything here. And when you train it, you will get this kind of app again, like we saw in that app. So I'm not going to train it again because it will take time to create a model. So it will take around 10 minutes. So I'm not going to train. So you will see that accuracy is here around 100% and losses are near 0 about. So and right side, you can see how much time is of around 5 minutes. Epochs, 50 epochs means 50 full cycles. Iterations 400. What is iteration? One batch size is called one iteration. So maximum iterations are 400 during 50 epochs, means 400 number of batches it will be. Okay. So if you have a parallel computing toolbox, it will run on GPU directly, and GPU have thousands of cores. Okay. I'm going to load the model. I already trained. It will take time, so I'm not going to train it, but you can use this function if you want to train that. Okay. After training, I'm going to test. So first of all, we have to apply this image data augmentation on testing also. Means we have to resize that images of 2 to 5 into 2 to 5, and to predict on new images, we use classify. This is my model which is created, and here we have to provide the input images, the new images. When I run this, I will get the prediction on this. So there are huge images. It will take a little time to execute. So here I will get the prediction level. So once you know that deep learning takes actually time, that's why if you have a parallel computing, then you can accelerate the time. And second thing that once your model is created, then it is fine. So now you see that still it is predicting on that. Okay, prediction is done here. And if I move my cursor, you see that whatever testing images, 42 images I had, and I got the predicted value. So now you see we have original level. In the original image data set we have saved. So as a structure we are calling, this is the field name. Okay, and I have predicted also double equality. So we got how to apply logical operators. When this condition will be satisfied, we will get value 1, else 0. And sum of that. When you do a sum of this one, you will get the how many classes are true predicted. Okay. Then further, numeral means number of elements. How many number of samples I use into 100, I will get the accuracy of that, right? So here you see that accuracy is 90%. Perfect. No issue. Now I am going to plot the confusion matrix. So to plot a confusion matrix, we use plot confusion. Actual labels means actual labels and predicted labels, and we'll get the confusion matrix. So in this case, you see our target class is on x-axis and predicted class is on y-axis. So you can say in this case 19 from marks. See, diagonally these are the correct predicted value, and remainings are errors. Okay, diagonally these are correct. So 19 from marks are perfectly classified as a mask, and 2 from unmasked misclassified. Same for the unmasked, 19 are perfectly classified as a unmasked, and 2 are misclassified from marks as a unmasked. Okay. So overall accuracy is that is 90.5%. This is the final result, and 9.5% are errors.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So there are some questions regarding the convolutional layer.
Sure.
One question is how does this convolution layer will work for a single dimensional signal?
Very good question.
And how we'll choose the kernel?
How to choose the kernel? See, kernel you have to know actually. In deep learning, you don't have to choose the kernel. See here, did I choose any kernel here? I didn't choose any kernel. You see here, simply I provide a random kernel it will take. So filter size is 3, and the total number of kernels, if you are talking kernels, are 8. So you don't have to choose that what kind of kernel do you want actually. Randomly it will select. Okay. Okay, this is about the kernel, choosing the kernel. So randomly deep learning will do for you. You need not to worry. So for the one dimension, just simply use CONV. That is a one dimensional. So if you are using 2 dimensional, the CONV2 it will become. So there is an inbuilt function. If you want to see how it works, doc CONV. And there is a proper documentation with examples that how you can apply this convolution on single dimension. Single dimension means if you have a time series data or some kind of rows or vectors if you have. So you can use CONV for that. So you see here. Okay. Any more question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. There are two more questions. The
Hmm.
next one is in deep learning as well as in machine learning, we mostly use that Euclidean distance and Hamming distance. But there are many different distance measures in mathematics. So
Right, right.
is there any specific reason to choose that one only?
No, no, actually there is not a specific region. Actually, first of all, I would like to tell I didn't have time that time to explain that what kind of machine learning algorithms are available. Otherwise, there is a proper documentation in MATLAB that if you are using k nearest neighbors, of course, there we use the Euclidean distance or different kind of distance. So I told you there is an option for hyperparameter optimization. So that if you use that hyperparameter optimization, automatically your machine learning model will be optimized. The parameter will be optimized. Automatically, it will choose that what kind of equal distance do you want in that case. So there is no, I mean, such kind of condition that you will use these or you are going to use different kind of distance to measure that.
Okay. The next question is, sir, the filters. Hello.
Yes, I am listening, ma'am.
The filters which you are describing here, are they same with the filters for Facebook pictures or editing pictures in mobile phone?
Of course, of course. See, Facebook is a big data, right? So they use deep learning model. They have very good applications. Like if I show my face in front of the camera, directly it will choose that what is my Facebook account. It will redirect to my URL. Yeah, this kind of filters. See, the filters which I am using, some mathematics are going behind that. So that I showed you how it works. Of course, they use convolution kind of things to filter that things, and they use some kind of other algorithms, not only convolutional or this only. They use some advanced also applications in that case to enhance the images, not only just a filter to remove this noise.
Okay, so the next question is how we'll use Fourier series in data analysis and signal processing.
Okay, see, there are two ways you can do analysis on Fourier series. Another, first is FFT. That is a part of a basic MATLAB. If you have a basic MATLAB only, you can use this fast Fourier transform to transform your time series data. See, this is a time series data. Very simple here, just you provide the FFT and you will get the fast Fourier transform out. It is the Fourier transform. There are some other ways like PWelch is there. If you want to see that what more are there, just go in the plot and scroll this, and here somewhere it will be available below. This is a phase. No, this is not this one. Okay, here I guess. So okay, let me show you from the doc. There is a PWelch also, like, so you can use PWelch also, you can use FFT also. So PWelch is a part of a digital signal processing. You can use this, you can provide what is the window size of that, number of non-overlapping data, and number of FFT also. So you can use, there are many functions. So I suggest if you have only basic MATLAB, go for the FFT, else you can go for the PWelch for that. And you see that is the Fourier transform of that in the frequency domain. Any more question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. The next one is you have provided some link for dynamic link, but the URL is not working. Somebody is trying to open it, but it's not working, I think.
Which link?
Dynamic link.
Dynamic link. I'm not getting, ma'am, actually. What kind of dynamic link actually?
Arpita, ma'am, I think the participant is asking about the attendance dynamic link. Okay, so you are confusing with this with the question that Mahima has shared.
But he asked me in private chat box, so I think.
No, ma'am. The participant is talking about attendance link. It is working now.
Okay, okay. Though, sir, there are 2-3 questions. So the next one is, what are the prerequisites for learning such things? Prerequisite.
Again, I'm telling you, if you are using MATLAB, you don't require any kind of prerequisite. So you can start directly from deep learning. Let me show you how you will start. there are more than 100 toolboxes. They are divided group wise in MATLAB actually. Let's say I have to learn deep learning. Okay, just I will click here deep learning, and for every toolboxes we have a get started for that. Okay, just click this get started and complete all these links, like get started with the deep network designer, like the app which I use, right? Write a deep learning in 10 lines MATLAB code. So you have to complete this get started, and you will be aware how to use these toolboxes. Prerequisite is nothing. See, my background is electronics, right? But still I have created various applications. If you visit on my technical blog, I have created a fall detection, like if my device is fallen somewhere, it will take the picture. COVID-19 detection, COVID-19 forecasting. So that codes are also available. If you want codes, then you can visit, I will share later, that is algo.wolfganga.com. So you don't require whatever your background is, that is okay for you. And if you are using MATLAB, you don't require other backgrounds for that.
Okay, sir, there are no more questions right now, so you can
Okay.
start.
So I think we have very less time. Let's see that if I can cover yellow V2 as well. Okay, we got till here that what is the accuracy, right? Here we were. Okay, we got here 90% accuracy we got. Now, the next one, which I am going to show you here. Just a moment. Okay, here I use the slider. Means I have total 104 plus 104 images. I use this slider to classify that it is classifying perfectly or not. Okay, so here you see from where you will get this slider. You see IDXS, that is my index. So if you go here in insert, and if you go in the control, use this numeric slider. So you don't have to use the for loop to check that what is the classification on every images. So you can use this slider. Now you see that on index number 4. So what is the process? First of all, you have to pre-process the images. Means if you have a gray image or binary image, you have to convert as a 3D matrix. Okay. Then further, the images which we use for the training, that is 255 into 255. So I use the im resize command to resize the image. Okay. If you have already color images, you can skip this line. Okay. Further, classify, and this is the model, and this is the new image which I am going to classify. So here I will get the classes and the score of that as well. Softmax layer, calculate the score, probability, if you remember I was talking about. So you see that at index number 4, this sector is not wearing the marks, predicted class is unmarked, and original class is also unmarked. So as a title, I provided original and the predicted one. So you can go, if you don't know how to provide the title, already we discussed in the first session how you can use app to provide title, X label and Y label, right? Now you see that I want to see on some different index. I will just move this slider, and you see that here, unmarks, predicted one, and original class is also unmarked, right? So you can move this slider like this, and you can predict that. You see here also in this one, predicted class is marks, and this is original class is also marks. So it is working very perfect on Google Image. Now the question is that will it work on my webcam or not? So let me run this. So I am going to interface with live camera. So how it work with live camera? First of all, to on the web camera, just you have to give this command, webcam. Okay. And further, in infinity loop, I am going to run. So here while 1. And for the while, we will have an end loop. So if you can give while 1 or while 2 to run this model for infinity loop. Okay, I have this camera. I have to take the snapshot, then cam.snapshot, resize the image, because the images which I used, the size of images were 255 into 255. Classify this, IM show. That's all. And the last, don't forget to provide a draw now, so it will look like an animation. So you see, again, I on the camera because I don't want to on the camera again and again. So it is not in the while loop. Snapshot, resize the image, classify the image, show, and title will be as a character, the class which is it is predicting. Now I am going to run this. Let me check. Any figure is open. I'm going to close. So now you see that I am wearing the mask. It's still, now it is detecting perfect. This is a mask. Let me take out this out. Now you see, still it is detecting the mask, right? Because the images which I use, that was from the different sources. And this is the deep learning. It is not detecting only that things which you saw in this image. It detecting that features also which you cannot see from your eyes. So it detected not only the things which you can see, it detected the sources features also. That on Google they have different way of compression of the image. They have different kind of data stored, and the images which you search, they are from different sources. That is not web camera. But yes, if the images were from my web camera, then the accuracy would be perfect. So this is a deep learning that okay, and I will suggest you take the images from different mobile cameras, like either your MI, Lenovo, or iPhone, and based on that images you can classify that this images is from this mobile, this is image. So it not only extract the features from the images which you see, it extract the features, unique features, the sources also, that from what source that images are coming. Right? So that's why to make this model, let me close this first of all. Stop this. So what we can do to make it more robust, so it will work on my camera also. So what I can do, I can assign to classification, to deep learning model. You have to extract the features from there only, not from here, not from other resources. We can assign the bounding box that I want from here only. You learn to extract the features from here only, not from other places. That is called YOLO version 2. If we have time, then can we proceed, or what you say, sir?
Hello, Dr. Suraj. Hello.
Just let me show you the app first of all, which I created as a .exe file. .exe file actually I created for that. Do you have time, ma'am, for that?
Sir, we have 10 minutes more. Actually, 5 minutes.
Okay. Let me just explain a very small thing, then you can do yourself also if you are interested in that. Okay, here, whatever steps we followed in a CNN, the new steps we can follow, like labeling the data. Labeling the data means like this. To label this. So we have labelers apps available to label the data, and we are going to use this label data to train a YOLO V2 model. So simply, if I already labeled the data, just I'm going to show you how you can label that data. So from here, this is a part of image processing and computer vision. You see that different kind of labelers. Image labeler is there, video labeler is there in this group. I'm going to use this video labeler. It will take a little time to open. What the error I got while opening this app? Okay, this is the labeler app. Okay, first of all, what you have to do, you have to give the path of your images. So if you have your images if you have a video, you can load the video to label. If you have image sequences, so in my case, I had a image sequences. So I use this tab to load the all images. What I am going to do, I am going to load the session already. I saved for you actually here. This is a labeler app where you can label, because you can't identify that what is the width and height manually, right? And from the point where you are going to measure that width and height from there. So you see that this images, let's say that this is not labeled. So I am going to remove this. How to label? Just create a class name here, select the class name and start the labeling like this. To automate all this labeling, you can select the algorithm, which algorithm are you going to use to automate on other frames also, right? So you see here, if I move this line and you see that images are labeled here. Just wait a minute. Let me unzoom this. Okay, just wait. So if you have big images, you can unzoom this and you can label it again. If you have big images like this. So I labeled all these images like this. After labeling this, you have an option that here export this label. So you can export these labels also. So you will have two outputs. One output will be the path of all the images here in JIT-root. That is the JIT-root data. If I use the tab here, you can see that this, if I run this label data, you see that I have a bounding box of all that. I mean the point from where we are going to measure the width and height. Okay, data source, JIT-root dot data source, and you will see that I have the path of all images also. With respect to this images path, the images are automatically labeled. So we require this data. I mean that label data means that is bounding box of this, all these things. This is the point, and from this point, what is the width and what is the height. So we have all this label data, and you can use. Let me explain in the PPT that further what you can do there. Okay, what is the yellow V2? So yellow V2 is basically used to detect the object from the images. So in this case, these are splitted in a two part that is called feature extraction, this one, and detection, means what you are going to detect. In this case, I am going to use RaceNet 50, that is a pre-trained model, and that is a transfer learning that you can use for your data also. To create yellow to layers, I mean in the form of yellow V2, we require three things: network input size, anchor boxes, and feature extraction network. Okay, so this process is the same, only that these three things are, you have to add it more there, and further you will be able to identify the anchor boxes near around this mask. Okay, let me show you. Just I will take 1 to 2 minutes only. After creating that model, this is the algorithm for that. It will take 40 minutes if I execute this, because it takes time during training. Okay, so this is the code like here. Image data store, we create a two data store here. First will be a image data store, another will be a bounding box image data store. Then we combine that data store further. So you see that two data store, image data store and box level data. Box level data store, that is the bounding box of that. Further we combine that both in a single data store. And one thing is important which I wanted to show you. Yeah, to convert as a you only look once version 2, we use this function: input size of the image, number of classes, that is 1, and anchor boxes. Anchor boxes is simply this, the boxes which you see here, this one. So how many anchor boxes do you want? You can define like that. And feature extraction network, that's the layer which we defined. Okay, and this is the feature layer. This is the feature layer. This feature layer you will get from when you analyze your network. There you will get this feature layer name. After creating this, simply we use command here. Let me show you. After providing the options, we know, you know that how to, we already discussed, that is I am using SCDM, what will be minimum batch size, initial learning rate. After providing the options, just in this case, we don't use train network, we use train yellow V2 object detector. You will get the output as a bounding box. That's all. And further you can do a testing of that also. Okay, let me show you this model, how perfectly it works on live camera. I'm going to select all and I'm going to run. Not this select all only, I'm going to close. I give command this, if any figures are open, by giving the close all, figures will be closed. So I'm going to run this. section. Select this and right click and run that. There is the option. Okay, I clicked run that section by mistake. Just wait a minute. Select this, right click and evaluate this section. This way also you can run it. And here I'm using speech to text conversion also. Sorry, text to speech. It is still running. So you see that
no mask kindly wear
no
to
mask
protect
it says.
yourself.
Now I am going to wear the mask.
No mask kindly wear to protect yourself. You are wearing mask, thanks.
See? And these are the anchor boxes.
You
which
are
you
wearing
see.
mask, thanks. You are wearing mask.
Now if I remove this mask, you can see that
You are
how
wearing
perfectly
mask, thanks.
this model is working.
No mask kindly wear to protect yourself.
Okay, I'm going to close this. And you see that to convert as a text to speech, 2-3 lines you have to add. First of all, I want to use the speaker of my machine, net.assembly system.speech. I created a system object as a synthesizer. Then what will be a volume of that? Speak. This system object, that means the speaker of my machine, will be applied on this text. If my bounding box is empty, means detection, using detect command. If I don't have any bounding box, it means marks is not detected. So it will speak. It will speak that no marks kindly wear the protected marks. Else there is a bounding box. The insert object annotation means the bounding box which we got, how to insert in that image as a rectangle. Further, IM show and draw now. That's all. Okay, this was the session for today. If you have any questions, you can ask me. And further, you can create such kind of apps. You can interface with IoT also. So this is the app which you see that is based on the IoT. And here I provided the volume also to increase and decrease the volume. So ThingSpeak is free for students. You can use ThingSpeak to connect with the IoT also, with Android mobile and IoT, this kind of apps.
Hello. So there are 1-2 more basic questions. Like someone is requesting to share your technical blog link.
Okay, so I am going to share in a chat box. From there you can get.
Okay, sir. And one is asking that if they're using a trial version of MATLAB and after 1 month of using it, can they again use it by using different mail ID? Can they download the trial
Yes,
version
you can
again?
do that, but issue will come because if you are using the same machine, actually the license is generated based on the MAC ID.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it does not depend on mail ID only.
No, it depends on the MAC ID also. It depends on the MAC ID also. Okay, my blog. Let me open this chat box. Okay, I shared here algo.wolfganga.com. So this is my website here actually, algo.wolfganga.com. Further, if you want to get that codes and applications which I designed, just go in mathworks.com. Sorry, search the file exchange if you want to download codes from MathWorks. File exchange, okay? In file exchange, just open this file exchange. Here already I posted all codes. Just search COVID forecasting. If you don't know, you can search from my name also, just COVID forecasting, and somewhere my application will appear here. Okay, it's not showing here. Fine. COVID-19 forecasting India. Okay, that's the mine. The first one is mine. So if you open this, and if you go in authors, or here, this is the code where I upload here actually. If I go in my file exchange, Let me share the link also if you want to download the codes. So these are the codes which I downloaded. Deep learning model for detecting COVID-19 on checks. All the codes are available here. Let me share this. Just wait a minute. So this is a link from where you can get all the codes which I was discussing right now. You can open that and you can get lots of applications. I mean, lots of codes I posted here. Analysis and forecast COVID-19 patients worldwide. And some other posts are also there, some apps which I created. And this is a technical blog from where you can download. So this is the first example, that is a Internet of Things fault detection. If my device is fallen somewhere, then how to take, how it will give me a warning that my device is somewhere it is fallen. Fine. Any more questions from?
No, sir, no questions now.
Okay. Fine then. And here the COVID-19 detection based on X-ray, if I scroll below, you will get the codes also of that. And I provided the data source also, means from where you can download all this data. So whatever code I have provided, and if I use data, so you will get the data link also from here. So if you want to start machine learning and deep learning, you can go through that. So we have machine learning on lab, free available, deep learning, MATLAB. So these are the freely available on MathWorks website. Just what you have to do here, let me tell you, if you want to learn from MathWorks. So simply go on Google and search here like this, MATLAB on-ramp. Okay. MATLAB on-ramp, open this app, matlabacademy.mathworks.com. So lots of courses are available there. 5 courses are free, like MATLAB on-ramp, Simulink on-ramp. And when you complete that, you will get a certificate like that after completion. So provide the right name when you are going to create the MathWorks account, you will get a certificate. Some advanced are also available. So you have to pay actually for that, like MATLAB Fundamental, MATLAB for data processing visualization, MATLAB programming techniques, machine learning with MATLAB. These are the advanced machine and deep learning if you want to learn. But if you are a beginner, you can start from these 3 courses also. Okay, that's all about that. If you have any query or questions, you can ask. And once again, thanks for everyone to join this session on deep learning with MATLAB.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Suraj?
Yes, ma'am. I think you have no more queries right now from the candidates.
No, no more queries.
Then you can, ma'am.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So this is actually our last session with Akhilesh Kumar sir, and I thank him for such a wonderful discussion on MATLAB. Akhilesh sir had started with a basic overview on MATLAB, and then he has discussed over various aspects of MATLAB like Simulink and data import and export and mathematical modeling. Also, he has discussed many new age applications of MATLAB, many new age subjects by using MATLAB like machine learning, deep learning. He also told us about the how to use a deep learning process for detect COVID-19 detection and for making face apps like for COVID-19 detection. I think his course will be really useful, not only for beginners, but also for the advanced learners. So I thank him for joining us with this in this workshop. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Suraj sir, for inviting us.
One whom I talked about this workshop and you agreed just instantly. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.